Today we start off with Dr. Venkitachalam sir as he helps us referencing the information we use in our research. Sir has completed his BDS in 2014 from Indira Gandhi Institute of Dental Sciences, Kottamangalam, Kerala, and MDS in Public Health Dentistry in 2017 from Amrita School of Dentistry, Kochi, Kerala. Presently working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Public Health Dentistry, Amrita School of Dentistry. Co-founder of Community Health Oriented Research and Training Cohort, a research consultancy organization based out of Kochi, Kerala. His areas of interest include dental public health, epidemiology and biostatistics, health systems research, systematic reviews and meta-analysis, clinical trials, institutional ethics committees. He is a recipient of several Best Paper Presentation Awards and grants. He has been an invited speaker in topics of research methodology and biostatistics in various academic platforms. He has more than 30 publications to his credit, is a reviewer and editorial board member for journals he has mentored, and he has mentored undergraduates, postgraduates, and PhD students with their research project. I'm indeed very honored and privileged to invite you, sir, and we are very honored to have you with us today. So without further ado, I'll invite sir to please take over.
Thank you, Dr. Priya, for a generous introduction. So if I am very audible, I can share my screen, right? I hope you can hear me clearly.
So little more voice is
yeah, is it fine now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just sharing my screen and just let me know if you can view it clearly. Yes?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, thank you. So you can just put me, in case you're not able to hear me in between, you can just put me a notification chat box. I'll manage it accordingly.
So voice is clear, but it's not loud enough.
It's not loud enough. Just a second. Just hold on.
Is it fine now?
Yes, sir. Perfectly fine. Sir. Perfectly fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So today's topic is, or the first topic of the day is titled "Cite while you write." Right. So this is very important as far as your research writing is concerned. Exactly like like Dr. Priya pointed out in the beginning, today is a day where you try to put all what you have done in your research into a format which can end up in good publication. Right. So once you start writing your research article, a lot of things need to be taken into consideration. And one among them is something known as referencing. Okay. So we'll go into detail into one of the most important aspects of referencing that you need to be aware of as a beginner in the research process. Okay. So I will be covering these topics under the following headings. Why is citing or referencing important? What all should be cited and referenced? How to cite or reference correctly? When should you start working with your references? Who or how will you manage your references? And where to look for help while writing your references? Okay, so we'll start with those 5 W's and 1 H that we always ask during research, isn't it? So that's why I've put it like this. So just to start with the quote, you all know that all scientific research is founded upon the work of earlier researchers. Their work must be incorporated into the paper in order to place the author's new findings into proper context. You would have researched a lot of things. Some of it might be new. Some of it might be in tune with what has already been done. So just to put whatever you have found into proper context, you need to cite the work of other authors. That is what referencing is all about. So with that, the great quote goes from Isaac Newton, like, if I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. I hope most of you would have seen this quote. I think this seems apt for the topic that we're going to discuss today. So I'm sure at least all of you would have read a journal article by this time, right? Even if you have not, don't worry. I've just taken a small paragraph from a journal article. On the left side of your screen, I have shown the text that is there in the article, and at the bottom right of the screen, I have shown you the references for the article. You would have seen this in some of the standard textbooks also, right? So what I'm going to do here now is to introduce you to some terms which will put these things into context much better. I hope all of you can find the red circles that I'm pointing out there. That is 1, 2, 1, 3 to 4, and 5. Right. Any idea what are these known as? Anybody? Okay, no worries. This is known as citation. Okay, what you cite in the article is in the main text of the article is what is known as citation. After you do all these citations, towards the end of the document, you expand all those citations, which is known as reference. Okay, so these are the first two terms that you need to be aware regarding this topic. What is a citation and what is a reference? So once this is done, we'll tell you why a referencing is important, why so much importance is given to citing, and why is so much importance given to referencing, so that that has been included as a talk in this research and statistics, included as a session in this webinar. Whenever you, like I told you before, whenever you tell something, you need to support it, right? And for that support of an argument, you need to give a referencing. Sometimes you might not be supporting a previously stated argument, whereas you might be having a parallel opinion or a difference of opinion. Even if you have the same thing, you need to tell that I am differing from the work done by another person. And that is when you need to quote the other person. So even if you're developing a parallel or branching opinions, you need to reference. Also, you need to enable the readers to check the genuineness and quality of the references that you have cited. This is important because you might be putting, like you saw in the previous slide, you might be putting some numbers, right? You definitely can't write the whole article there. So what it will enable the readers to do is he can go and cross-check that article to find out whether what you have told is correct or what the other person has told if he wants to know it in more detail. Okay, that is why I said to check the genuineness and quality of the references cited. Referencing is important. Then finally, for shortening of your paper, right? You all know how a journal article will look. It would be around 4 to 5 pages, say about 6,000 to 8,000 words. That needs to include all the different sections of the journal article, which I think you would have already been exposed to, or probably will be doing that the later sessions of the day. And once you do that, once you start doing it, you'll find out that you are restricted for the number of words that you need to write. So what you can do is, in order for the readers to know more about that particular topic, you can give references in your document. So that will help you to shorten your paper. Okay. So what do statistics say? I just did a small research to see if there were any studies on undergraduate students' knowledge about citing and referencing, but in medical sciences, I didn't find much, but I came across this article, which was done in Sierra Leone among 690 students of arts stream, okay, which was basically, which studied them according to how they cite the references. Okay, this is just, I just want to put this to bring about this point saying that only 38% of the students, of the UG students, were confident in doing a referencing or a citation, which means that 62% of them were not confident. This, at least in the West, there is, like you people give your seminars and all that. Whenever people give a seminar or write up there, they usually expect you to give a referencing for that, right? Properly referenced document. But sometimes what happens, maybe in some place they are doing it, but usually in our setup, in our system, whatever seminar we write, we don't have much of proper citation or references. We just sort of take a few things from here and there and just compile it and give, at least in the undergraduate level, what I'm talking about is. So, but it is always good that you start citing these so that that will be a practice for you also whenever you take up research projects in the future. Because whatever you write, if it is not your idea, okay, if you're taking it from somewhere, you need to give credit for the person from where you have taken it. That is the whole essence of this topic called citations and referencing. Okay, And it said that only 10% of the respondents told that it was the faculty who taught them how to cite. So probably there is some issue from the faculty side also, that we are not training you enough as to how to cite. In that context, I think giving a session on referencing for this webinar is very much apt, because everybody needs to be mentored as to how you need to do this. So in that way, I like to congratulate the organizers for organizing this session, so that at least the people who are participating in the seminar will be aware of it, and slowly it will disseminate to the other people also. But don't worry, you are not the only people who are not aware of, I mean, I said only 38% of people were aware. But if you look at it, these are 3 studies done among researchers. Okay, so even among researchers, there is a good amount of referencing errors or referencing mistakes that happen, right? So even for people who know it, there is always a chance that there could be a lot of errors that will happen. So it is our duty to understand how to properly reference them. Okay. Yeah. So now I'll be introducing you to some more terminologies, right? Some of which you might have already heard, but some of which might be new to you. So to start off, I already told about this, that is citation or in-text citation. Okay. So that in-text citation is something which gives brief details of the source you're quoting to. Sometimes it could be just numbers, whereas in some formats, you might write the author's name also there. But if you look at it here in the small example that I've shown below, you can see the numbers 1 and 2 given there, isn't it? That means that this 1 refers to some article from where he has taken that information, and the 2 refers to another article from which he has taken the information. That is what is known as citation, and citation, you usually do it in the main text of the article. Then there is something known as common knowledge. Okay. There are a lot of things which are generally known, certain facts which are generally known. Okay. For such facts, you need not cite them or you need not reference them. For example, New Delhi is the capital of India. You don't need to put a reference of the Constitution of India for that. Okay. Or normal body temperature is somewhere between 36 to 37 degrees Celsius. You don't need to give a reference for that. And human dentition consists of 32 teeth. All these are facts and common knowledge which you can avoid referencing or citing. Okay. The next thing is something known as digital object identifier. For people who have read journals, read journal articles, some of you might be aware of this, or if you just go to any journal article page, you can see something near the title which says the DOI and a few numbers like this. What it means is it is just a number tag used to identify that article. Okay, I'll tell you why this is important as we go ahead. Then there is something known as direct quotation. Sometimes you might be using the actual words of an author to cite it in your work. Just a small example that I've given below: providing affordable quality healthcare to all is a challenge. This was a statement that was told by the then Health Minister of India at a Global Health Summit in 2015. So if you observe closely, I have put both of them under double inverted commas, right? So if you're taking something what people quote and directly putting it into your article, you need to provide it in double quotation marks and give a reference to the person who has quoted it, right? So we'll move on. Then this is one term which you might come across quite often, which you would have already come across quite often, is something known as et al, sometimes pronounced as al, depending upon the language. Okay. So if any author has done, if there are 3 or more authors in a paper, we usually write the first author's name and then we give an extension called al, which means that there are further more authors. So if you look at that sentence that I've written there, you can see that a study done in North India by Kumar al, which means that it is Kumar with a few other authors have done the study, right? The next thing is something known as paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is even though you might be taking information from other articles and cite it in your article, you should not be exactly copy pasting it from the other person's work into your work, right? It is basically expected that you read the article or you read the statement, understand the statement, and then put it in a form, put it in your own words. That is what is known as paraphrasing. Okay, because even if you take all the article, all the statements from the source article and put it as such, what will happen is, even though you cite it, it will end up as something known as plagiarism. Plagiarism is when you take ideas from somewhere else. Even though you might cite, okay, it will increase your similarity index, because when you submit an article to a journal, if most of the things have been taken verbatim from another source, it is highly unlikely that the journal will accept your article. They will say that there's a lot of similarity between other articles. Please try to paraphrase some of them. Okay, so that is what is known as paraphrasing. So even though you paraphrase or put it in different words, you still have to give a citation of the source. Okay. Then, like I told you, at the end of the document, you would have seen, you would have read it in your books, there will be a list known as the reference list. Okay, it includes full information about your citation. Like I told you before, citation includes only a short information like a number or the author's name, whereas a reference list will include the full information, which includes the journal name, which volume, which year, and all that. Okay, and sometimes what happens is you might take an information from an article which has cited a previous article, right? That is known as a secondary reference. For example, if you take a statement from an article which has another citation given to that, and you give the citation for the article from which you have taken it, it means secondary reference. Okay, and usually you should avoid secondary referencing because the other person has already cited the original author. So you should go back, search the original author, and then cite that in your work. Okay, so but in some instances we will have to do secondary referencing, which I think I'll again be speaking about it a little bit later. Okay, then why if for people who are new to a journal article, this is how it will look. Okay, you go to any journal page or you go to any article page, you will find something like this. It may not be the same format in all journals, but you will find all these essential elements. It is very important to you what each of these things mean. Okay, so we'll go one by one. You can see that there is something known as Journal of Family Medicine and Primary Care. That is what is the name of the journal. Okay, then there is something known as 2020 April, which is the date in which this particular article was published. Then you can see two things there, 9 and in bracket 4. 9 means that it is the 9th volume of the journal and it's the 4th issue of that journal. What does volume issue mean? It gives an indication that this journal has been there for the past 9 years. Okay, so every year is generally considered as every volume. And the issue will tell you how much frequency this journal releases an issue. Here you can see that this is April and the issue is 4. That means to say that every month this journal brings out an issue. Some journals might bring out an issue every 3 months. Some might bring out an issue every 6 months. In that case, there will be only 2 issues, that is 1 and 2 if it is 6 months. There will be 4 issues if it is published every 3 months. Whereas if it is published monthly, there will be 12 issues. That is why this is written like this. The next is the page number of the journal where you can find this article. Next, like I told you, the DOI number is usually given, following which this is the title of the article. These are the names of the authors who have written this article. And this will give you the affiliation of the authors. And this will give you the corresponding author details or the contact point if anybody wants to discuss anything about this paper. Okay, so why I told you all this is because when you reference the article, all of these information is going to come, or rather most of these information is going to come into your reference list. So you need to be aware what each of these are when you want to write a reference. Okay, so now I've been using these terms quite often now as to citation versus reference. What is the basic difference? Okay, so citation is something that you do it in the body of the work, whereas reference is something that you do at the end of the work. Okay, so citation might include only the name or a number, whereas reference will include all the details. Right. So since I've already told about it, I'm not going further. Then some of you might get confused between the terms what is bibliography and what is reference. Some of you might think both of them are same. They are more or less same, but there's a slight difference. It means that bibliography refers to all the sources that you have referred for doing a work. Okay. Whereas reference includes all the sources that you have referred and you have cited in the document, right? So when you need to give numbers to the citations, that means you're doing a referencing. Whereas sometimes what happens, especially in UG level seminars and all that, we write at the end of the document which all sources we have referred. Okay, you would have taken information from that, or you would have not taken information from that, but you would have referred it. That will tell you how much deep you have gone into doing that work. So that bibliography will come towards the end, and bibliography will not have a citation in the main text, whereas reference will have a citation in the main text. Okay, so usually sometimes what happens is, for books, people give bibliography, whereas for journal articles and all, people generally give references. Okay. Now, what all should you cite? Okay, I've given a list of things on the right-hand side of your screen. For example, if you have a journal article, that is Lancet is the name of a journal. So if you have a journal article, you need to cite that. If you are taking information from that, you need to cite it. If you're taking information from a book, then you need to cite that. Some people release conference proceedings, that is after a major conference has been held. In order to disseminate what has been told in the conference, they might bring out a booklet or a journal or something like that. So that is what is known as conference proceedings. If you're taking information from that, you need to cite. Then some of us, especially during our post-graduation, will submit dissertations to the university, or what we call as thesis, right? If you're taking information from that, you will need to cite that also, especially for people who are going to do post-graduation. Sometimes you might be continuing your work the seniors have done, right? So there's always a chance that you'll be referring to their thesis for few information. If it is so, please make sure you cite them. Then the scientific and technical reports which are released by major organizations like WHO and IADR or whatever it is, right? Then even newspaper articles, right? You need to cite even the newspaper articles. You need to cite if you're taking information from websites. For example, usually we go for information to World Health Organization websites or anything like that. You need to cite that. Even if you're taking information from a person who was talking to you, right, which we call as personal communications, there is a format to cite that. And of course, patents. And there are a lot more things which actually needs to be cited, but these are the ones which are very much important. Okay. And what need not be cited? You might feel that everything needs to be cited. No, there are few things which do not need citation. That is, when you're writing your own opinions or views about a subject, you need not cite that because it is your own opinion. When you are writing up your own results which are obtained through the experiments that you have done, then you don't need to cite that. When you're using artwork, digital photography, video, audio, which has been created by you, okay, not taken from somewhere else, which has been created by you, you don't need to cite it. Like I told you, the common knowledge, for example, what is the normal body temperature, the number of teeth in the oral cavity, all that is common knowledge and facts. You don't need to cite that. And that's the same thing when you use generally accepted facts. So these are some of the things which need not be cited during your manuscript or the article writing stage. So coming to the referencing, I told you that you need to cite all these things, but how do you cite them, right? That is what this referencing styles will tell you. There are hundreds of referencing styles that are there, but don't worry. I'm just telling 5 of the most important things that we usually come across. Among them, for medical writing, we usually use the first 2 ones, which is known as Harvard and Vancouver. And at a beginner level, I think we need to focus only on the Vancouver style of writing. But however, just for completion's sake, I'll tell you the difference between Harvard and Vancouver, because some of the journals will ask you to reference in this particular format. Okay, so the other 3 names are just for your information. You will not be using them much. So I just want to take 2 minutes of your time. Can you just quickly go through this and spot the difference? You can just put in the chat box as to what difference you have spotted. Both of them are the same writer, but there is some difference between the 2. Can you quickly tell me what it is?
So the names have mistakes.
Yeah. Then?
So the citation in number 1 is given in bracket with a digit, while
Okay.
in number 2, the author's name and year has been mentioned.
Yes, yes. So that is the main difference that is there. In though the text is same, in the first one, the numbers have been given a citation, whereas in the second one, the author's names have been given a citation. So this is one of the major differences between the two styles of referencing that I was talking about, that is Vancouver and Harvard. The first one, where the numbers are given in the site in the text, is known as the Vancouver style of referencing. Okay, and just mind that there are certain variations to these referencing. Sometimes the one might be in brackets, sometimes the one might be in superscript, sometimes they might be in square brackets, sometimes they might not have any brackets. So there could be slight amount of variations, but you can find out that these are numbered consecutively, right? So this goes in an order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. And each of these numbers will have a reference at the end of the article. Right. So this is how that article reference list will look. So you have the author's name, the title of the publication, the name of the journal, year, volume, etc., which is given at the end of the document. If there are more than 6 authors, while writing the reference, you usually write the first 6 names and then write AR. Okay. And you can see the page numbers and everything that is given at the end of the document. So this is how a Vancouver style of reference will look. Whereas the same article, if you use a Harvard style, they expect you to write the authors and year in the bracket. Okay, so understand these are the same references. There's absolutely no change between the two documents, but you can see that the author's name and year of publication are given in the brackets. So you can't say that they are referenced consecutively. So to understand them better, what they do is they write it at the end with the names of the authors, so that they can go back and check where this author has been cited, right? So this is the major difference between Vancouver and Harvard. You don't have to worry much about that, because most of you, at least in your starting stage, would be using Vancouver only for most general purposes. Okay? So the major difference is citation in text is author name and year, whereas in Vancouver it is a unique number. So I'll be just going a little bit more detail about Vancouver, since most of you would be using that. There is a format, or there's a way in which you need to you need to write references for the articles that you are cited. For example, let's assume that you're taking information from a textbook. Okay, so how will you cite a textbook? I hope all of you are familiar with this. I hope all of you are dental students, and then you would have seen this textbook of public health dentistry. It's written by Soben Peter. Okay, there are a few things that you need to be aware of here. The first thing that you need to write is what is the name of the author. Then you need to put a full stop. Then you need to write the title of the book. Again, put a full stop. Then write the edition, put a full stop. Write the place of the publication, put a colon. Write the name of the publisher, put a semicolon. Write the date of publication, or rather the year of publication, and put the pagination, which means number of pages that book has. So just to give you an example how it will look like this. Soben Peter, Essentials of Public Health Dentistry, 6th edition. Where do you look for the place of publication? Open the book and see the second page. They will give you the details, who has published it. It has been published by a publisher known as Arya Midi Publishing House. And then it came out in the year 2017. That is, the 6th edition came out in the year 2017. And that book has 764 pages. That is how you cite a book. Now, imagine that you're citing a journal article. Okay, like I told you, this is another screenshot of how a journal article will look like, which gives you all the required information. But how to cite it is like this. Write the author's name, write the title, write the name of the journal, write the year of publication, write the volume, the issue, and the page number. And if you notice, there are a few semicolons and colons and all in that, which you need to be very careful about. So to give you how it has to be written, when we write the authors, we don't write the full names. We usually write the surname followed by the first name as initials. So Chandrasekhar Janikaram will become Janikaram C. Venkitachalam Ramnarayan will become Ramnarayan B. Okay. So when you write it, it will look like this. Then you write the title of the article. Then you write the name of the journal. If you look on the top, it gives you the name of the journal, and usually it is abbreviated. So Journal of International Academy of Periodontology becomes Journal of International Int Acad Periodontol. Okay, these are all standard abbreviations. which you will come to know, which is just when you look at the journal's page, they'll tell you how it has to be cited. Then you write the year, the volume is 20 and issue has to be put in brackets. Then you put a colon and you write the page number, which is 116222. If you look at it, it's actually 122, but in the writing format, you usually write 22. Okay, we avoid that one in before this. That is the way it has been formatted. Okay. Similarly, if you're citing a newspaper report, I've just taken a random newspaper report. Okay. Here you need to write the author, the article title, the newspaper title, and the edition if it's available, the date of publication, which section, which location. All this is very important. Okay. Since I've not given you more information, since I've given you only the paper clipping, I'm just writing here. I've taken all the required information from the newspaper. It was written by a person known as Cynthia Anand. You can find the name here, Cynthia Anand. Then you can write the title of the article, which is health alert, etc. And then it was in the Bangalore edition, and it came in February 2nd, sorry. In the 12th location is the page number, and the column is first column. Okay, so this is how you need to do cite a newspaper. Similarly, there are citation formats for dissertation and all that. I'm not going into detail because this is an example for a dissertation. The difference here is, since it's a dissertation, it is usually submitted to the university, right? So the publisher becomes the name of the university. And the type, we usually write it as it is a dissertation. This is just for people to understand that it is a dissertation, right? So that's how I've mentioned all the commonly used citations. But I think some of you might be thinking, how difficult is this going to be for all with these colons and semicolons, the full stop, the page numbers written in a particular way? There are different ways to do it, right? Generally, people do it manually, but I tell you, it is a very difficult job, especially when you are dealing with a lot of references. Okay, so to make matters much simpler, as expected, you have technology support for that, right? So there are a lot of softwares which will help you do this, where you just need to enter the required information into the software, and then it will give you an output which has been formatted according to how it has to be done. Okay, here I've just mentioned a few softwares which are generally used to manage references: Zotero, EndNote, Mendeley, RefWorks, cite. Like, there are a lot of things that are available here. But I would like to just say that the first one, that is Zotero, is a free software and is quite good enough for beginners like you. Even I still use Zotero. But whereas if you want improved functionalities, there are softwares like EndNote and Mendeley and all that, which is, I think is a paid version, right? But you don't need to worry about all that. You can always look for the software called Zotero, which will serve your purpose for the time being. Okay, at least for the next, even if you're doing a post-graduation, this should be more than enough. So the advantages of using a software is that you're inserting and formatting according to the journal requirements will be much easier, and it will be very easy to create your bibliography or reference list. And imagine that you send your article to one journal and the journal rejects it and you submit it to another journal. But when you look at the another journal's instructions, they say that I don't want Vancouver, I want Harvard references. So what do? Do you think that you can sit and change everything right from the first? So wherever you wrote 1, 2, 3, you have to change it to the name of the author, isn't it? It's going to be a lot of work. And by the way, you're going to we are going to write the Harvard citation is also going to be different. So whereas software managers will help you do that in a single click. Okay, so it is highly, highly recommended that when you start working with softwares, when you start working with articles, it is always good that you download a software and work on that. Okay, so I could just give you an, if time permits, I could give you a short demo of that. And so just a few take-home messages. Okay, basically the do's and don'ts of referencing. I'd like to say that my first term, I emphasize this again and again to all my students also, please make use of referencing softwares, else you're going to have a very tough time, especially when you do your post-graduation, where you do your thesis, where you have around 100, 150, 200 references. Changing it is going to be a lot of problems, and writing the references with all those formatting is going to be a very difficult job. Okay, so make use of these softwares and check before you start which referencing format is required. for your institution or for the journal that you're submitting. They'll all have specific, some changes might be there. Some might prefer Vancouver, some might prefer Harvard, some might prefer variations of Vancouver. So please check what they want before you start doing it and follow those rules or formatting meticulously. Include a complete reference list at the end and list your references numerically or alphabetically based on the style. If you're using a Vancouver, it is numerical. If you're using a Harvard, it's going to be alphabetical. And just make sure your in-text citations and your reference list matches exactly. That is, whatever you have cited has to be there in the reference list, and whatever is there in the reference list has to be cited. Okay, so again, the softwares will help you in this. And if you are quoting something, then you have to copy the words and then put a double inverted commas. And even if you paraphrase an information, make sure you include the citation for that. Just because you have changed the words doesn't mean that it has become your own idea. The idea is still the person from where you have got the information. Okay, so you have to cite that also. And always, always, always double check. There are a lot of instances when you will probably, once you go a little bit ahead in your research career, you will get to know that some of the journals might reject your articles because the referencing has not been proper. It is usually, or it might, the article might come back to you asking you to recheck or redo all the references once again. So you have to always double check before you send it to any journal or an institution for that matter. Then what all you shouldn't do, okay? Don't ignore the different rules for the various referencing formats. Okay, by now you have understood that the way you refer a book is different from the way you refer a journal article. The way you refer a journal article is different from the way you refer a web page or a dissertation. Okay, so it's all different. Make sure of that. So don't quote secondary reference. I already told you this. Don't quote secondary references when access to primary sources available. Okay, if you have lost track of what I told before, if you're taking information from an article which has taken information from another article, make sure you go to the first article and give that citation. Okay. Do not leave referencing to the last minute. Okay. As you do, keep on referencing or citing, because once you go on writing, I'm sure most of you will lose track as from where the information came. You might think, okay, I'll do one thing. I know from where it came. At the end of the document, I'll then add those. Take it from me, it's based on experience that we are telling you. Do not leave it to the end, because it's going to be very difficult for you to, especially when the document becomes long and long, it's going to be very difficult. Then do not leave out any sources that you have used, because you need to acknowledge the people from where you have taken the information. So please do not leave out any source. It could be just one sentence that you're taking from another source. Make sure you cite that. Okay. And do not reference sources that you haven't used. Okay, that is also there. If you haven't used, just because to show that you have done something, don't write a huge list in the reference. It has to be, it has to, what do you say? It has to be, it should be there in the citation so that it matches with the citation that you have written. And if you have any questionable references, do not include that in the manuscript, because you might, just to show that you have referred a lot of things, do not add references which have no relevance to what you are writing there. Okay, some people usually do that to increase citations, but please do not fall into this trap, right? So there's a simple decision-making algorithm for this. If it is your original idea, you do not need to cite. Okay, if it is not your original idea, you have to see whether it's a common knowledge or not. If it is a common knowledge, you don't need to cite. And if you don't know whether it's a common knowledge, you talk to your professor who will tell you whether it's a common knowledge or not. And if it is not a common knowledge, then there is no doubt you have to include a citation for that. So it's as simple as this. Okay. So then I know I'll not be able to cover everything in this, but I can give you a very good reference. Like I told you, for everything, for each and everything, there's a citation format, even for personal communication. If you're taking something from the newspaper, if you're taking something from a patent, all that has different styles of referencing. So the best place to look for it is something known as Citing Medicine. It is a kind of a book. Okay. If you just type Citing Medicine in Google, the first result that comes is this. Just click on that. It will give you each and everything about the referencing that you require as to how to format a reference. Else, you have to make sure you have a referencing software available with you so that in just a click, you will tell whether it's a journal source or a newspaper source or whatever it is. Okay. So this is how that citing medicine will look like. If you look at it, there is journals, books, conference publications, dissertations, bibliographies, newspaper articles, maps, etc. And on the right-hand side, you can see that all those, even audios, audiovisual formats, CD-ROMs, DVDs, papers, posters, everything is there. Letters, personal communications, everything is there. Okay. So I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes. This is again, what do you call that? A screenshot of an article. If possible, just try writing in your chat box as to how this has to be referenced. It's okay if you get the formatting a little bit wrong, but at least if you get the order fine, it will be very good. Okay. Just 2 to 3 minutes, all the information is there in the screenshot. It just has to be put in the format that we require for a journal article. You need not worry about the spellings or anything. It could, when you type fast, even if it goes wrong, don't worry. But I just want to know the format as to how it has to be referenced. Vancouver. Okay, probably I'm just giving you information. I got a Vancouver reference for this. I assume you all are typing there. I'll give you 2 more minutes to complete this. Yes, I have an answer here. That is from Dr. Saurabh. Janikaram C. Venkitachalam, Joseph J. Profile of Insurance Committee in Kerala, Accountability in Research, 2016, July 3rd, 23, 4. Okay, 219 to 29. That's good. Yeah, from where did you get that July? July 3rd. Yes, Saurabh, from where did you get the July 3rd? Yes, any other answers for this, or do you agree with this answer? Yes, yes. Since we are running out of time, I assume that you will sort of agree with the answer that Dr. Saurabh has written here. Just that the information called July 3rd is not available in this. You checked the volume of the journal. That's good. Probably it came out in July. Fine. Yeah. Fine. So I think you got a basic hang of how an article has to be referenced, right? So, Dr. Vineet, do I have another 5 minutes or 10 minutes time? If I could give a small demonstration of Zotero, if it's okay with your schedule, it's optional.
You're already 5 minutes late, but you can have 5 minutes of demonstration.
5 minutes. Okay, thank you. So I just quickly show you how this Zotero would be very useful while you do it. Okay, so just all of you just make a note of the site that I'm talking about. It's Zotero. If you just go online, there's an option for you to download that software. It's a free software. Okay, then you will be prompted with a window like this, where you'll have to install both. That is Zotero 5 for Windows and a Zotero connector if you're using a Chrome. And if you're using any other internet search engine, there are connectors available there. And then once you install that and once you restart your computer, if you go to your Microsoft Word document, you will see that there is something called Zotero that has come up here. Okay, only if these things come up can you be sure that your Zotero has been installed properly. Okay, so I'm just stopping my share screen now to just share an example of how to do the citation using this software. Okay, I'll be sharing another screen now. Can you see this document now? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So what I've done here is I've just taken a paragraph from one of the articles, and what I'm going to do here is to add a citation for these. Okay, so what I first need to do is, now I hope you're seeing my Google Chrome screen, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So one thing is you have to keep your Zotero on always. Okay, if you look at the bottom bar, I've kept my Zotero on. Once you install, when you open Zotero, it will look something like this. Okay, I've just made a folder called Zotero demo, where I'll be adding the references for that article given here. So when I go to Chrome, when I go to an article in PubMed or any other database for that matter, if you look at the top right corner, you will find a small page-like icon here. Can you see that? Can you see me pointing there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when you just click on this page-like icon, it will get saved to the Zotero. It will show you that saving to Zotero. It will get saved in the folder that I have created. Okay. So when you just look at Zotero, you can see that the article has come here. Okay. Likewise, I have just kept 3 articles already ready here. Okay. That is Epidemiology of Periodontal Disease. I have just taken randomly 3 articles. And when this web page opens up, you can see that this page-like icon comes on top, and then you can just click on it. Okay. So I'm just adding all the 4 articles that I have searched and kept for this particular document. So this is the 3rd one. So you just have to wait for the web page to load completely and click on it. Just make sure that your Zotero is kept running below. Otherwise, this won't work. Okay, you need to be connected to the internet, and your Zotero has to be working, kept open. And based on that, I've added all the 4 articles to my Zotero. Okay, it will just come. It might just take a few minutes time for it to come there. Okay, so can you see this coming in Zotero, all the 4 articles?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So once you have got this here, the next thing you need to do is you need to go to your Word document and keep your cursor as to where you want to cite it. For example, I've kept it here after this sentence. I've taken this sentence from the first article. So what I do is I click on this add citation option that is there here. When you click on the Zotero tab, you can see an add citation option. Okay. You don't need to follow this exactly because there are videos which will help you in doing this. I just want to show how easy your work will be if you're using the software. That's it. Okay, you don't have to remember the steps that I'm showing you. It's fine. So when you click on the article, it will take you to the Zotero screen and just choose the article that you have taken. For the first article was Kasebom. So I just click OK and this becomes 1. Okay, so like that, I'm going to put another reference here. I'm going to take another article. If you know the name of the author, you can type it here, or else you can just go to the classic view. It will take you to Zotero box, keep the next article. Okay, so there comes 2. Fine, and this, imagine that the last is something. I've taken a third reference. Let's say it is 3. Okay, so once I've done all these citations, if this is all my document will have, I'm going to put a heading called referencing, and then I'm going to click on the option called add bibliography or add reference. So when I click on that, all the references will get automatically formatted, and it will come like the way you want to in a Vancouver format. Did you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now imagine that if you show this to your guide and your guide says that, no, I want to add a sentence here. Imagine that I want to add a reference for the sentence that I've done here. If you have to do it manually, if you want to add a sentence here, you need to sit and change all these numbers that follows. Imagine if this is a huge document, it's going to be a big burden. And again, you have to change all the numbers that is there in the referencing list also. Whereas what this software would do is, again, if you think that the statement is from a different reference, go to add citation, go to the Zotero box and click on the 4th reference, which would actually come there, right? So when you do that, that will automatically become 3 and the 3 will become 4 here. Right? You don't have to sit and do anything. All the following reference numbers will get automatically renumbered. Okay. Now you send this to a journal. The journal says that, no, I don't want a Vancouver format. I want a Harvard format. There are methods to do that. I'm not going to the details of how to get those methods, but I'll just show you a demo of that. There's something called document preferences where they'll give you a lot of styles. Okay. And I'm just going to take one which says Harvard, Elsevier Harvard, and just click on OK. So as I stated, in Harvard, it is the author and year. So you understand that the author year has come here, Kasebom et al. And Irfan et al., Carrizales Sepulveda et al. And Dai in 2012. And you can see that the referencing has changed from numbering to the alphabetical order. Okay, so this is how simple your work can be made. I'm stressing it again and again because we have used it for the past few years and we have found it very, very helpful. Okay, so that's all from my side. I would like to end this presentation now. And I would like to thank all of you for your attention. Sorry, I just took 5 minutes extra of your time. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I've given you my email address. It's there in the schedule also. And if you have any questions, we can discuss over in the question and answer session.
Thank you so much, sir. You've managed to cover almost everything about citation, and we thank you again for clearing all our whys and hows of citation so well.